Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Rachel Patton, Executive Director of Preserve Arkansas. Preserve Arkansas is the statewide nonprofit advocate for historic preservation. Welcome to our Women in Preservation program for June. We're excited to feature Ms. Pat Johnson this month. Women in Preservation is the series that features Arkansas women who are working to save the state's historic places. Thank you to our series sponsor, DMX Architecture of Fayetteville, for their generous support. Many of you are already members of Preserve Arkansas, and we thank you for supporting us very much. For those of you who are not already members, we invite you to formally join us for as little as $50 a year, and that helps us support our organization and achieve our mission of saving the state's historic places. I'd invite you to join us again next month in July, on July the 12th at 3:30 in the afternoon for our next Women in Preservation talk featuring Vanessa McEwen, Executive Director of Historic Cane Hill. And now it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Pat Johnson. Pat Johnson is the founder of the Eddie Mae Herron Center Museum at Pocahontas. When Mrs. Johnson was a child, she attended school in the building that now houses the museum. At that time, it was the only school for Black children in the Pocahontas School District. Now named after beloved teacher Eddie Mae Herron, the museum is listed in the National Register of Historic Places and is a popular meeting place for the entire community. Pat retired from the Arkansas Department of Human Services, where she worked as a community health aide in the home health program, and later as a social service aide, helping families and children. Pat is a dedicated community activist who works to make a positive difference in the lives of others, and she takes great pride in her reputation for being a mover and a shaker. She and her husband, Shirley, have 2 children, 4 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. Please welcome Pat Johnson. Let's see. All right, you're unmuted. Yes. Okay, Pat. Now it's your turn to share your screen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Pat Johnson, and I'm so excited to be here this afternoon. And I want to thank Rachel so much for inviting me to Women in Preservation, and also for being so patient and so kind with me through this. I'm just real excited to be a part of the preservation event today. On the screen, you will see our building. This is the Eddie Mae Herron Center now. And we're real proud of it. But first, I want to talk a little bit about Pocahontas. Whenever I'm visiting other places, they always say, "Where is Pocahontas?" So Pocahontas is the largest city and county seat of Randolph County. Population in 2020 the total was 7,371. Whites was 81.78%. Blacks were 1.48%. Pacific Islanders were 7.73%. That is why it's so very important for us to capture, to preserve the Black history in Randolph County. Because if you don't keep up with it, it would be lost. Now I want to talk a little bit about St. Mary's AME Church in Pocahontas. This was in the early 1900s. This is the way the building looked when it was first built. And these are some of the people that attended church there as well. The building now is known as the Eddie Mae Herron Center. It serves as the hub for the religious and educational activities for African Americans in the community and in and around Pocahontas. This small one-room building was built in 1919, and it is now known, it became known as the St. Mary's AME Church. This is St. Mary's AME cornerstone. This was the cornerstone that was put here when the church first was built. Now, I want to tell you in 1864 to 1919, the history of St. Mary's AME Church, also known as St. Mary's Chapel, actually dated to a short time prior to the year of 1865. A small group of people consisting of 4 or 5 persons decided that they would like to have an organized church for the African Americans here in Pocahontas. In contrast to today, there are many African American families in the county who not only attended the church, but also children attended the school in the small one-room building. And in order to pay for their building, this little group of people organized a society for the purpose of raising money for their building. And they called it the Union Aid. They gave suppers and they called it jug breakings. And each person would put into a jug as much money as he or she felt that they could afford. Then at a certain time, like today, we call them potlucks, they would have a supper and they would take the contents in the jug and they would count it. And that is the way that they paid for their building. So then in 1865, they organized the African Methodist Episcopal Church. And this church house was in the northern part of Pocahontas, which was called Bland and Schoonover Street. The St. Mary AMA Board of Trustees purchased 2 lots in the Shannon Addition of Pocahontas in August of 1918. Then in 1919, the church was moved to the south part of the city, which is on Archer and Pratt Street, where our building stands today. This move was made to situate the church closer to where more African Americans were concentrated in the city. And remember, that was during segregation time. Now we'll talk a little bit about the school. In the early 1930s, the African American community in Pocahontas also used the building as a school, though the school years in those early years lasted only a couple of months, and the education program lacked a clearly defined structure. So in 1830, there were teachers that would travel through and they would teach the children couple of months, and then the children would have to go to help the families work. So in 1919, then the church began its history here on Archer and Pratt Street. Mrs. Eddie Mae, this is the lady that she was our teacher She was our mentor, our role model. She was our hero. She loved us, and we knew she loved us, and we loved her as well. She taught school here from the early 1940s to 1965, when the schools were integrated. She was a great, great teacher. And a lot of people may say, how could she have been so great? But she was good for us. She was good for our families. And so this is a history that we do not ever want to lose. And we want to pass it on to the next generation about Miss Eddie Mae. Miss Eddie Mae had the opportunity to teach in the public school doing integration, and she taught about a year, and then in 1968 she passed away. So we still miss Miss Eddie Mae, but she's always going to be in our lives. As I was saying, that Miss Eddie Mae taught from first grade to eighth grade, and whenever we finished eighth grade, the Pocahontas, for our high school, the school district bused us to segregated high in Newport, Arkansas. That was a time when our families, I'm sure our parents were very worried about us being on the road so long. It was 113 miles round trip each day, but it had good points and it had bad points. Bad points was getting up so early and catching a bus and attending school. The good points was we were in a school where we could meet new friends, have new friends, go to the prom. We could even date people that were not our cousins. So that was a wonderful time, and we enjoyed that. But our parents was very worried about us being on the highway. And one of the reasons was they were worried about accidents, which we were in an accident one day. This is a picture of Mrs. Eddie Mae and of her first husband, not the husband that was the bus driver. Reverend Ollie McDonald was Miss Eddie Mae's second husband, and he was the bus driver that was carrying us to school that day that we had the accident, and he had a heart attack. So that was one of the reasons, I'm sure, that our parents were so worried about us being on the road. Now, in 1998, the building, it had been just sitting here deteriorating, and we wanted to save it, but we didn't know where to start. So then this is the way it looked before renovation. And for years, there were people in the community that would come together, and we would do many, many things to keep it together, building together. We would paint. There would be people that would come back home from out of town that had moved away and help us do repairs to the building, put some paint, work on the doors, the windows, but it was never enough to make a difference in the building. Also, this building served as a community center at one time for the community. We would, some of the seniors, ladies would quilt, and they would sell their quilts, or they would roll papers. They'd done many, many things to try to keep this building from deteriorating so bad, but it was just never enough to make a difference. So then we found out who really owned the building. And so then we incorporated a 501c3 organization, and then we persuaded the district to deed the property back to us, which they did, and that was a blessing. We were able to save this building by renovating it. This is the way we began to renovate. And as we started in, we wondered, what have we gotten ourselves into? There were things that you had to do. You could not take away and you could not add to. And that was found out when we started in with the renovation, the preservation. They have rules that you have to go by. Those are things that we would get with them, and they would tell us the things we had to do. And so this is why some of the building looked. We had to strip down the walls to the original wall. We had to strip down the floors. It was a subflooring down. We had to strip that all away. And that's how we started our renovation. Learning as we went along, we tried to even put a roof on the building before renovation. And when we did, that's when preservation came through and told us the things that we had to do. And we could not have the roof looking this way. We had to tear all that out and start all over. We had taken away looks of the original looks of the building. So we learned a hard lesson, but we got it done. Also, historic versus non-historic. As you can see in the picture on the side, up in the corner on the left side, there were no sidewalks at the top picture. Those were some things that we could add later. It's stairs and sidewalks and ramps, you know. Oh my, we learned that we could add sidewalks on the side that were not the historic side. So now we have nice sidewalks. In 2002, the Eddie May Heron Center was added to the National Historic Registry, which we are so very proud of. We're really proud to be on the National Historic Registry. This is our building here, and our it's out on the front of our building. Today, Eddie May Heron Center is part museum and part center. Up in the left corner, that picture represents the church. We have the piano, we have the table where the communion was, and we have a pew there. That all just represents the church. In the lower part is the center. Now we have a really nice kitchen, but this kitchen was not here when we had school. The opening there that goes into the kitchen was once the blackboard for the students to go up and do their work. This is also a part of our meeting room. This is the part where people come in and they have meetings. We have many people in the community that use this building as a meeting place. We have senior bingo here. We have an area where you can sit down, you can read books. We have books for children that we can read to them. It's just a wonderful place that we can all sit down and just enjoy comfort and reading. Also, we have an area that we do research. This is a picture here of, we have many people that have come here and had their meetings, and one of them was the African American History Preservation Alliance out of Little Rock, and they came and had a meeting here. And this is a picture we're visiting, and also enslaved people. We have an area that we do research on the enslaved here in Randolph County. This is the way our building is set up now. We have our school desks, and these are some of the old school desks, and we have some of the original. At that time, we didn't have anything that matched. So we tried to set our room up in the way it was when we attended school. We are especially happy when the school classes come to tour the museum. Each year, our public school bring children here for activities, and especially in Black History Month, we have a whole month-long activities, and the schools participate, and we really, really enjoy that. What we learned: fundraising never ends. Keep your missions in your sight. Document everything. Find someone who can write grants, and identify your friends. Fundraising never ends because our building requires constant repairs. This is where we had received a grant from the preservation. We had boards that had gotten loose, that had to be replaced. There were paint that had to be scraped and repainted. Our windows had to be restored. So this is some of our never-ending work on our building. And by the way, our building is 100 years old now. We celebrated a couple of years ago birthday for our building. Keep your mission in sight. Research to document slavery in Randolph County. This is where we have a local genealogist that done a lot of research on our enslaved in Randolph County. This was very, very, very interesting. We found out a lot of our ancestors. We found out owners of slavery. So this is history that needs to be really preserved and talked about as well. Document everything, including people, events, grants, and projects. These are our scrapbooks. We have documented everything that we have done from the opening of our museum, which was in 2001. We have pictures of our activities. We have scrapbook. The picture that's in the middle is our beginning board members. Those are the people that helped to get this building renovated, preserved, and some of them are still on the board today. Find someone who can write grants. There is many out there, and you have to find it. And we have found out that if you have someone that knows how to write your grants, that really helps our organization. We have received grants from Arkansas Heritage, from Arkansas Historic Preservation Programs, Arkansas State Archives, the Arts Council. We have also received grants from the Curtis Sykes Black History Commission. And we've just had, and also our local college here, Black River Technical College, has been very good with supporting us with grants as well. That is something that's very, very important, is to find a way that you can get support from grants. But now we don't only sit and wait for grants. We have a lot of fundraisers. We tried our best to support ourselves with some fundraisers and also with the community support that has been done. Speaking of support, find your friends. Successful because of friends and supporters. Pocahontas City Hall, Pocahontas City Council and Mayor were the first to support the Eddie Mae Herring Center with funding. They gave us seed money of $35,000 to get started, and they are still supporters of the Eddie Mae Herring Center. Also, our county has been very supportive to the Eddie Mae Herring Center, and still are. So work well with people. That's what I have found, that you get support when you give back support. And so we really get a lot of support in Pocahontas for the Eddie Mae Heron Center. I want to say that my roots run deep. Growing up in Pocahontas. I have always lived here. I was born and raised in Pocahontas. I attended this school, under Miss Eddie Mae. I have always lived here. My husband and I were married here. And I want to go back to growing up here. These are some pictures of the school activities that Miss Eddie Mae would have. She always made sure that the families were together at least once a month with socials. She would have mother-daughter banquets. She would have 8th grade banquets. She was always willing to have families together, and that was a really, really a good thing for all of us. I want to say a little bit about our ball team. This is our ball team. We played a lot of softball, and that was a very important time for all of us to get together, to play ball, and to communicate with each other. So that was very important, and we were pretty good too. This is a picture also of myself, my husband Charlie, our daughter Jackie, and our son Douglas. Like I said a while ago, we grew up in Pocahontas. We raised our family here. Our children attended the public school, but now live away. We also have 4 granddaughters, and now we have 4 great-granddaughters. So they are very special to us. And I'll tell everyone that we all have girls. We have all girls, so we rule the Johnson house. So that's about the gist of my family and my roots in Pocahontas. I have had the opportunity to do many, many things, and I have many friends, hopefully. But I have a lot of support in Pocahontas. And not only me, but I have a wonderful board of directors that helps me and supports me each day, every day, every time we have something. They're very supportive to me and the Eddie Mae Heron Center. So that's that about me. I guess I'm open now for questions.
Okay, I'm back. There we go. Okay, can you see me big on your screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'll invite all participants. Miss Pat is going to be all yours for question and answer time. If you have questions for her, type them in the chat or into the Q&A, and I will ask her. You've got one already. Let's see. How do you oversee the day-to-day things like scheduling the building and mowing the lawn and just regular maintenance?
We have people that are hired to do our lawn. We also have someone. Right now, we don't have anyone to work, and I'm looking, by the way, have anyone that works at the center day by day. I keep it open as much as possible, and I have people that volunteer. I have a young lady today that's volunteering for me today. So I do have a lot of volunteer people to help carry out day by day activities.
That's good. Okay, let's see. What are the center's hours of operation?
Oh, okay. 5 days a week. We are open at 10 o'clock and we close at 3. Sometimes I'm here at 5 and 6 or 7. So if someone comes, there's really not a closing time. If they're here, I am so happy to talk to them about the Eddie Mae Heron Center. But the hours are from 10 to 3 regular and on weekends by appointment.
Okay, thank you. The building was originally a church and school. That's a question. Can you explain kind of how that worked early on?
Yes, the building at the beginning was only a church. It was the St. Mary's AME Church. Then after 1948, when one of the pastors, which was Henry Taylor, he was in an untimely accident and was killed in 48. So by him dying, the church just kind of won, it just kind of dwindled down. So it was not as often. So then the congregation got permission, got a contract with the public school to make it the school for the Black children. So it was originally the church, and then it became the school as well.
As a follow-up to that, where did Black children go to school before that? Was there a place?
No, not that I know of. This was the only place that Black children attended school here in Randolph County,
Okay.
in Pocahontas.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you charge a rental fee for the community to use the facility?
No, we do not. We just ask that people give a donation if they like. But it's open to the public. But if they want to give us a donation, we take a donation. But other than that, we do not have a charge.
Mm-hmm. Pat, will you talk a little bit about whenever you and I have just been visiting about the building? I thought it was very sweet and just a very kind thing that you talked about how that you and other people associated with the museum center would open it for families, like after a funeral or for some
Yes.
other kind of occasion, and where they would. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, that is something, like I said earlier in my talk, was that this was the hub for African American people. This is where they came to have Christmas, Easter, everything that went on in the Black community. This was the hub for it. So when also, if a family had someone that passed away or died, they would feed their family here, and we have kept that tradition. If a family do not have a church family, and this is not now, it's not just African Americans, it's anybody. We will feed the family here at the center. So that is another way that you get to know people, you get to help people. It's just a wonderful time that we use this building to help people as well.
Yes. Let's see. Okay, this is from your friend Cheryl Batts in Hot Springs, who you had the picture of in your show. She says, "I'm so excited, Pat. You've come a long way. I remember when we visited, there were many questions about where you were going. I also remember there were stories about how hogs were killed for the big cookouts. I'm so glad to see that the city has stood firm with you. I had such a good feeling about them at that time. I'm so excited that you moved forward."
Yes, hello, Miss Pat. I tell you, I do remember her coming here. She's such a wonderful lady. She's full of knowledge, full of history. And she is one that came here and really lifted my spirits and supported me and helped me to know that I could go on to do more for Randolph County and for the museum. So yes, I want to tell you, we still do our hog butchering. COVID came along and kind of shut down everything. We have not had a hog butchering now for about 3 years, but the community is wanting us to continue that. And also our county judge that helped to start that particular activity. We just lost him this month, and he was very, very instrumental in the hog butchering, and he wanted us to keep it going. So we're going to strike it up again next year to do our hog butchering. That is something that brings the community together. We have dinner. We sit down elbow to elbow, eat dinner, learn about each other. It's a wonderful, wonderful community activity. So we do enjoy that.
And tell us a little bit more about what all is involved in this event. So you actually butcher a hog for this event and cook the whole hog, I'm guessing. Yes?
We do. We had a gentleman that raised hogs, and he would take a hog and he would feed this hog and until the time come for us to have the butchering. He would bring it to us, and we had a activity that everybody that was here could guess how much the hog weighed before it was butchered. And then if they guessed the right amount that the hog weighed, we would give them a pound of sausage. Homemade sausage was their prize. So that was a big thing. And also that became a time where it was a fundraiser. It was one of our big fundraisers. Our county judge was a butcher by trade, and he would demonstrate to the children where bacon come from, where the pork chops come from. It was an educational activity. And then we would auction the meat off. There's people that love to have fresh meat. We would also have the sausage, homemade sausage. We would have the cracklings that a lot of people like. And so it was just a day of activity, of learning, and just being a community coming together. So yes, it's a real thing. It happens right here in our yard.
Now we're going to know when the next one's going to happen.
It will be in February because it has to be cold. It has to be in the winter when you kill a hog. So it will be in February because the county judge has a son that he have already trained to take his place. So we are in plans to do that starting up next year.
Great. Okay, let's see. Got lots of nice comments, wonderful presentation. I want to mention that the center is hosting an event for Juneteenth this Friday. That's from somebody who knows your center, Lauren Willett.
Oh, yes. Right? Yes, that's right.
Tell about the Juneteenth event that y'all are about to have.
Yes, this weekend, we will be having our Juneteenth celebration. And we have been having Juneteenth way before it became a federal holiday, which it was put into law last year, a federal holiday. But we started in 2010, and we have our big Juneteenth celebration. The community comes out. We have music, we have barbecue, we have games for the children. We have a whole day of activities. And this time we're going to have 2 days. We're starting on a Friday. We are having a program. We're having a multicultural fashion show along with AFTA and ASU speakers. So we're going to have some speaking where we're going to be speaking about Juneteenth. We're also going to have our college, our local Black River Technical College will be involved with that also on Friday afternoon at 6 o'clock. We will be having this activity at the Downtown Rendezvous Event Center in Pocahontas. We invite everybody that can come. We would love to have you there. We have a Pacific Islanders that will be involved with our style show as well. We have a lady from Little Rock that's coming and bringing clothing that she designed. So that's going to be a wonderful, wonderful night. And then Saturday, that's when we have our picnic. We will have our barbecue cook-off. We're going to be having music. We'll have like the farmers market will be here. We have a health clinic that's going to do health screenings. We're just going to have a wonderful day, and it's going to be hot. So we want everybody to dress cool, wear your hat, your sunglasses, whatever to stay cool, and just come and join us.
That sounds like fun. Okay, let's see.
Wish you were here right now.
I could get myself up there. Okay, I think this is Linda Bolin, who you know. The Eddie Mae Heron Center is an asset, not just to Pocahontas, but to the whole state of Arkansas. Pat and her colleagues have done a tremendous job of preserving and teaching the history and culture of the African American community in our rural county. Also, Pat and everyone at the center have welcomed every single person with open arms and an open heart, and have educated us not just about the culture, but about relationships and friendship.
Thank you, Linda. Linda is one of our supporters. She's always there to support the Eddie Mae Heron Center, and I do appreciate her. She's just one, along with so many more here in Pocahontas. It's just a wonderful feeling to know that you have the whole, I will say basically the whole community that's backing you. Those that have not come on board yet, I'm looking for them. I think they will come. So it won't be because I haven't invited them. But thank you, Linda.
And I have confidence you will find them. Okay. From other Pocahontas residents, Tammy Reed, I live in Pocahontas. Miss Pat, it was a great presentation. Juneteenth will be a great event to attend. We have, thank you for preserving important Arkansas history. Wonderful job. And we've still got a little bit more time if anybody has any other questions. I was trying to think if I had any additional questions.
I'd like to say something, Rachel.
Okay, go ahead.
I'd just like to say that it is very, very hard to find documentation on African Americans here in Randolph County and Pocahontas. And I just want anyone that ever come up with some things that they feel like would be history for the Eddie Mae Heron Center. We are really, really digging and trying to find articles, because early on in the early 1900s, and as you can see in the 1800s, there was a large amount of African Americans here, but there is not a lot of documentation on the things that they done here. And so we are really, really trying to do a lot of research on trying to find history about African Americans here in Pocahontas, because now it's 1%, but used to it was more, many more.
Yes, that's a good point. Okay. How successful have you been in locating or identifying the slave owners of local residents?
not real, uh, not real successful, because in the documentaries that we find, they are not named. They are by numbers. The people are numbers. They're not, they don't have, it's not names. So we don't have a whole lot of documentation on that. But I do know we go by the years that they were born when we do get maybe a birth certificate or a death certificate. And that's how we know that they were enslaved. My great grandmother was born in 1852. So if she was born in 1852, we knew she was born enslaved. So that's kind of how we're going through and finding some things, you know, about the enslaved here. But it's really a program that we're really working hard for, because that's how we find out who we are, where we come from.
It's true. Okay. Here's the question. Were you on the bus when the driver had the heart attack?
I was. It was about, I think it was about 6 of us on the bus that day. Yes, I was on the bus when that happened. Very, very terrifying. It was real tragic. So that's why I know, you know, our parents were worried, you know, each day when we got on that bus. 115 miles round trip, that's a long time to be on the bus.
Yes. Okay. Is the Newport School building still standing? Is Branch High School still standing?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I'm thinking that they are trying to preserve the school as well. I have heard some things that they were trying to, and I'm very, very well in support of that. Uh, every time I go to visit my friends in Newport, I always go by the school. So yes, it is still standing, and I hope that they will be able to preserve that building, because it's our history. It's part of American history.
And then these were a couple things that I remembered from us talking. Will you tell them about the significance of the George Washington portrait that's in the Eddie Mae Heron Center now?
Yes. Yes, when we were kids here at the school under Miss Eddie Mae, you know, she was really, really she could just think up a lot of things. She made everything work. And we would have to learn how we would say the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. And we didn't have a flag here in the building, but she had a picture of George Washington, which he was the first president. She had a picture of him hanging over our blackboard, and she would have us to put our hands in place and look up at George Washington and say the pledge. He was teaching us how to hold our hands on our heart, how to be respectful, and how to be respectful to the president, I guess. That's what I got out of it. But she never did explain, you know, explain that. It's just as you get older, you knew, you know, what you were doing and what it meant.
Does the school have reunions?
No, not per se school reunions. And that's something that I would really love to have, is to have a reunion. We did have one reunion where we brought together the public school students along with the first children that integrated the schools. We had a reunion then, and it turned out wonderful. So that's something that I would really like to have, is a school reunion, but that's another job. I would really like some of the students to come in and help get that together, because that would be great if we could. There are only I think living here that attended school at Eddie Mae Hearing Center, there are only about 4 or 5 of us still living here. The others live away.
That's another job for a volunteer, right?
Exactly, that's right. And I welcome you.
Okay, I'm gonna do last call for questions. Got lots of very nice comments and thank yous and good jobs. And I'll copy all those for you so you'll be able to see them. Let's see, somebody's putting in the Q&A. Oh, very sweet from your friend Debbie McPherson.
Yes.
Says, Patty, you make my heart swell. I'm so proud to have you as my dear friend. You've done a superb job.
Thank you, Debbie.
Very sweet.
Those are the kind of things, Rachel, that has helped me to keep the Eddie Mae Hearing Center alive. Support from your community, support from your friends. Those are the kind of things that make things work. Working together. And that's something that I've always had, and the Eddie Mae Hearing Center has always had. My board of directors, we've always had the support of this community, and even communities around. I have many friends in Little Rock that comes here, supports us. So that's something that whenever you decide to preserve a building, make sure that you have friends and people that you can work with and want to work with you. Work with preservation. They are there to support you and help you, and that's what we have received, is a lot of support. I think you have, Rachel, I think you have someone on your board that is from here, Dr. Carroll, Pat Carroll. Now, he, the beginning, he was a very, very good asset to the Eddie Mae Hearing Center. He was even on our board at one time. So he has really supported us as well. And I won't start naming names because I'll forget someone, and everybody know who you are. And I just want to say thank you so much for all that you have done to support the Eddie Mae Hearing Center. And I hope that we can continue.
I think everybody can see why you're so easy to support, Pat. You're so easy to like. But you've done a phenomenal job with your work at the Eddie Mae Hearing Center and with this presentation. And we thank you so much for doing this talk today. I appreciate it. I know everybody else enjoyed it. Yes, you still got comments and accolades coming in, so I'll be sure to share those with you. But thank you, Ms. Pat, again. And thank you to all of you who are watching the webinar. We appreciate you being here this afternoon as well, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Pat, do you have any final words before we sign off?
Well, I just want to say, and I can't thank you enough, Rachel, for being so kind and so patient with me. This technology is a new thing for me. And I just want to thank you so much. I hope you continue to be with preservation, because you are so kind and so good, and you, I know, help a lot of people. So thank you all.
Thank you. You're very sweet, and we figured it out. With no technical difficulties.
Yay!
Okay, well, thanks again. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Miss Pat.